All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you've been here before, I'm mostly known for doing fishing videos, but because using a truck camper on the road for my tournament fishing is such a big deal for me, I like to do, mix in some truck camper and camping lifestyle stuff. But today I'm getting to Lake Guntersville. You can see beautiful Lake Guntersville here in Alabama in the background. I'm lucky enough to have a friend whose wife's aunt has a place here that I can keep my truck camper. So I stay here, and it's a beautiful little spot. You can see kind of a barn dominium thing going on here. You got this big overhang. It's perfect to stay at for a week of camping, and not only that, but it's free, which is always awesome. But I get a lot of questions about taking the truck camper, which I have a Lance 975. This is a 2017 model, and I get a lot of questions about taking it on and off the truck, and a lot of people requesting videos of how do I set up this truck camper. So this is actually a perfect situation to go ahead and show you that process, because we've got a nice firm concrete level spot to do it. And even though I'm going to be a little bit distracted by filming at the same time that I'm doing all this, it should be a very, very easy, straightforward process because it's right here. And overall, taking a truck camper on and off the truck, which we're going to be taking it off the truck, so that this will be a standalone video, and someday I hope to do one putting it back on the truck, because it's very similar but also very different at the same time. But the process for each is very simple. The biggest key is to not get in a hurry. Know the process, know your procedure, maybe even make a checklist of things that you have to do and have to remember, and just take your time. Don't allow yourself to get distracted or anything like that. That is the very first step. So the second step for me, because I trailer my boat behind my rig, is I'm going to take off the boat, and then I'm going to go ahead and prep the site, which it looks like this spot is pretty much ready for me to set up. And yeah, we'll go from there. So first thing, we're gonna take off the boat and get ready to take the camper off of the truck. So stay tuned. All right, so we just disconnected the boat from the truck, and the next step is to just get a awareness of your surroundings here. So here we've got all kinds of things that we need to be careful for. First off, we've got one super slide on the side of the camper. So we want to make sure that wherever we put it, we don't have one of these beams or a tree or whatever it may be in the way of that slide, so you can open everything up. So that's one thing that I have to watch out for, is not getting it too close to these beams. Another thing is these lights up here, need to be careful, because I've got some, racks up there and also rod tubes. And so just be aware of all those things, behind you, on the sides, or above you. Above you is what's going to get you the most, because if you have a limb that's, kind of low-lying, that's something that generally is the last thing that you'll see. But anyways, so now we've checked out everything, we know what we're dealing with, and now we can get the camper and the truck into position. All right, so now we've got the truck into good position. I'm glad that I did my check of my surroundings, because those lights were definitely something I needed to watch out for on the rod tubes. So I just had to climb up there and kind of push them over those rod tubes. So glad I checked. But the very next step, now that we're happy with the placement of the camper, which is pretty nice. We even got a chair, a nice comfy chair there. What hospitality. But now we need to go ahead and start disconnecting all of these tie downs. So we got these fast gun tie downs. So we're going to you know, take these clips off, remove the tie downs, and just kind of set them aside. I'll probably put them on that bar table right there, but we'll do that. And we'll also swing these out, which I just recently lubed up, so these should actually be pretty easy to swing out. These are you know, swing out jacks that are designed to allow you to use with a dually, but also swing in, so while you're driving they're not in your way. But so we're going to do that. We're going to disconnect all the fast guns, and then we can start using the jack system to level everything up. So let's get started. All right, so we just got all of the fast guns off of the camper here, roll tide, and we are going to go ahead and first, you know, do something a little bit out of order. This is just something I like to do because right now the camper is pretty high up, and since it's still on the truck, I can do whatever I want. And so I'm gonna go ahead and connect the sewer line and also the hose for the water and the shore power too. Everything's just a lot easier to access when the slide is still in and the camper's up, because once we get the camper off, we're going to bring it down all the way down to where the step pretty much touches the ground right there, and it's just a little bit easier to connect everything while it's still in the truck. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. What we've got here is we've got the shore water connection right here, and we're going to, you know, connect that to, you know, the faucet out here, which I believe is over there. Power is going to go to that box over there, of course. And then we've also got, what else? Oh, sewer. We've got the sewer, which I have two actual hoses. We got that one right there, and we've got one right there that's kind of my extension hose that I carry as kind of a backup or an extension, which we're going to need because the connection is way over there. So we're going to need both hoses. It's going to be about 25 feet. So yeah, we're going to do all that right now and then go ahead and take the camper off the truck. So I'm going to do that real quick and I'll be right back. All right, here's another good reason for hooking everything up before you take the camper off the truck. Right here, you can see I'm about 5 foot from being able to connect those two. So I have to make up that by moving the camper back. And I've been in situations where I put the camper on the ground and then I try to hook everything up and I don't have enough length. That's why I've got, you know, 2 hoses. But in this situation, 2 hoses isn't even enough. So we're gonna have to back up a little bit and then be able to connect everything. All right, so now we've got the sewer line all hooked up, and so yeah, we definitely needed to back up quite a bit. And we had the same exact problem with the water hose. I had to connect 2 hoses that I brought. I always bring, just like the sewage line, I bring 2 hoses with me. Generally the second hose, that one, is for, you know, just being able to clean the boat and the truck and stuff when I'm there. So I have a splitter that I connect. And then the blue one is just strictly the water line. But this time I need to have both. So we're gonna be using both for just the water line. And it's never recommended to use a hose that is not designated for a potable water hookup, you know, to hook up to your water line. But I don't really have a choice here. And I don't use it for drinking water anyways. I never use anything that is in my water system for, you know, coffee or anything other than, you know, cleaning dishes and for the bathroom. So we're going to be just fine. But what I like to do is, just in case, I like to let the water run just a little bit to kind of get anything that might have been in the lines, especially if you go down to Florida. There's little anoles, little lizards that I've had get in my water lines, and so flushing those little suckers out is always a good thing. You don't want to get all clogged up by a lizard or a frog or something. But yeah, so I'm just letting that run. I'm gonna go ahead and hook it up right now. But it was actually a good thing that I did let it run, because the first couple seconds were pretty dirty water. So always really important to kind of flush everything out real quick. So we're gonna hook this up and I'll be right back. All right, now we've got the water line hooked up. We're gonna clean this up in a minute here, but one thing that I do like to do, I have this little strap, and so I strap that there just to have the water line being going in as straight as possible, instead of just letting the hose kind of fall down and have a weird angle, because you know I worry about breaking that connection right there with having too much pressure or leverage on it. So I keep that little strap there. Just a real quick tip, just to keep you from having to replace that connection to your city water hookup. So now we've got everything hooked up except for electricity. I'm gonna hook that up real quick, and then we're gonna go ahead and take the camper off of the truck finally. So let me do that real quick, and we'll get started on the whole leveling system. All right, guys, so now we're all hooked up to power. One other suggestion that I have for you is across your travels, you're gonna come across different connections. Generally speaking, on truck campers, you're gonna be having a 30 amp hookup here. So you got a 30 amp plug, and sometimes you come in to campgrounds and all they have is 50 amp. And so carry an adapter. So that's what I had to do here. Over there at their connection, I had to put an adapter there to make it all fit and work. So, but we're hooked up now, so that's definitely something you need to carry with you, is an adapter for the electric hookup, and also for like a 110 or 120 hookup. I've got an adapter for that too, along with an extension cord. But now we can deal with the jacks. So the jack system that I have is this Atwood heavy duty system, and then you've got this Lippert wireless controller here. The way that I'm going to work this is I'm going to press on off in the center, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lower all of the jacks. Okay, so now those are starting to lower, and we're not going to lower it all the way. We're going to lower them down to where the one that gets to the closest to the ground first gets closest to the ground, and then we're going to lower each one individually so they all make contact with the surface at the same exact time. You don't want all of them to contact the ground at different times, and one has more pressure on its corner than the others. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to check for that real quick. Okay, so it looks like this back driver's side one is going to reach the ground first, so we're going to stop there, and then we're going to go ahead and do the front. And of course the front ones with the swing, you still got a little bit of play here, so you gotta, there we go, lift it up to there. We're going to do that on each side. Ooh, watch out for wasps, there's a lot of them flying around. Oh gosh. Whew. Always carry a can of wasp spray with you too. Talking about those plug-ins, usually there's like a cover on those connections. You want to make sure you carry some bug spray, because you never know what's nesting in those covers, those electrical hookups. That's another really important tip. So I'm going to lower each of these to the ground, and then we can start lifting the camper off the truck. All right, so now we've got all of the jacks connecting or touching the ground at the same time. Once we start lifting all of them together, they're each, in theory, going to have the same amount of weight load on them. The one thing I am going to mention is every single camper I've come across has one jack, and usually, it's one of the back ones that is a little bit slower or faster than the other to lift it up. So it's going to be kind of a balancing act, and I'll show you that as we continue. The first thing that I like to do though is I like to hit the all jacks feature on the remote and lift it up just a little bit. But once we get most of the weight off of the truck, then we have to lift the front two jacks up just a little bit, because you always want the front of the camper to be higher when you're loading and unloading than the back. You definitely never want the front of the camper being lower than the back. You always want that front to just be a little bit higher, just for safety reasons, just so this camper never wants to, you know, lurch forward or anything like that. So we're gonna lift it for now. Man, I need to close my door on my truck because we're getting some wasps. All right, and at this point, I can hear my airbag suspension starting to lose air, and the truck's starting to kind of drop a little bit. So that tells me that we've got a lot of the weight off of the truck, if not all of the weight. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and select 2 of these, if I can do it with one hand. Okay, now they're all, so we're gonna lift the front just a little bit. That should be good right there. You can see the front is actually quite a bit more than the back. They say about 4 inches is what you want the difference to be between the front and the back. So front needs to be 4 inches higher. But that's good right there. So now we are going to slowly and carefully, you know, pull out from underneath the camper. And another thing that I like to watch out for, if you have an extension hitch, just make sure that the ball is going to be able to go underneath that, which it looks like it will. That'll hit quite a bit. Another thing you can do is take the actual ball off, and you know, then it won't hit. But let's go ahead and remove the truck. Oh gosh, we got wasps. All right, so it's really important to keep looking backwards in this process. What I like to do is I like to really know exactly how far between the inside of the fender towards the tailgate and the edge, the side of the camper on the bottom there, how much gap needs to be for it to be safe. That just comes with time, over learning, you know, what the tolerances are of your particular truck with your truck camper. I know that with this one, I want to keep this side about 2 inches apart from the inside of the fender, the inside of the bed, to the outside of the bottom or the basement of the camper. All right, so let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. You can see right there, we've got a little bit of a gap. It's like 3/4 of an inch, maybe 1/2 inch between the inside of the truck bed and the side of the camper here, the basement of the camper. So that means that we've got much more space on that side than we need. But as long as I keep an eye on this side, I know exactly, you know, what's going on the other side. And so we're just gonna go ahead and take it slow, pull out of here, and we should be just fine. So since I've done this a lot, I know what to look for on one side, and that's what I suggest. You know, if you're good on one side and you know that by being within a certain distance between the inside of the bed and the camper on one side means that you're good on the other side. As long as you know that, you're good to go. And so you just have to watch one side. I don't even watch the other side because I know I'm good. As long as I put that truck camper swing or the jack swing out, you know, I know that I've got that distance. So let's go ahead and slide out. Take it slow. All right, now we've pulled forward quite a bit, and this is the next step that's very important to make sure that you've got on your checklist, whether it's mental or written down. I would suggest, if you can, you know, type something up and get it laminated, just so you have a checklist you can reference every single time. But this is something that I've made the mistake with before. Here is your connection between, you know, the electrical connection between the truck and the camper, and you want to make sure you disconnect that at this point. And just make sure that as you're pulling out from underneath the truck camper, that it doesn't have anything to snag on. Now, this one generally does not have something to snag on, so we're pretty much good. But just make sure that there's nothing that you know it will catch on, and that could compromise that connection, because that is very, very important for the truck camper. So let's finish pulling from underneath the truck camper, and I'll be right back. All right, so now we've got the truck. It is at a safe distance here, and we're gonna be disconnecting the extension hitch after we get the camper all the way down. Again, maintaining the front being a little bit more elevated than the back is very important during this process. But right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the all jacks feature on the remote, and we're gonna start lowering it. And then on a case-by-case basis, on a minute-by-minute basis, or moment-by-moment, we're going to go ahead and make sure that all of these jacks are coming down around the same time. Now this, you can see right here, this side already started to come up. So what I'm going to do, again, some come up faster than others. I'm going to put pressure back on this leg, you know, an inch or two. It's either that or you can bring down the other side a little bit, but I want to make sure that you know, I keep as much pressure on each corner as possible. So no one corner or no one jack has to you know, hold more weight than it should. So we're gonna have to probably do that multiple times throughout this process. But what my goal, just so you guys know, is to get the back of the truck camper down to a level where this is almost to the ground or just barely touching the ground. So that step right there, that's about the height that I like to keep it at. You don't want to keep it very high like it is right now, because you're going to have a lot of movement in the camper as you're walking around, and I just don't feel comfortable with that. So I want to bring it down all the way that I possibly can, to keep it from swaying and feeling unstable. So we're gonna bring it down, and I'll catch up with you in just a minute or two. All right, so now we are all leveled up. We're looking good on each corner. You know, we're pretty much right on the dot. Not that these are super accurate. I stuck those on, so they're probably just a little bit off, but visually, or you can get an actual level, you know, a separate, you know, bar level that you can put on here in different spots and make sure that it's level. But just from my experience, this is pretty darn level. I can tell just by looking at the front here. But so we've got all parts of this camper level, and so now all we have to do is put the slide out. And something that the manufacturer recommends is that you don't use the slide, put it in or out without opening the door or a window, just in case it creates suction, because it can blow your windows out apparently. I've never had it happen, but I always keep my door open. One thing that you will find is sometimes your door will be, you know, it'll kind of catch like this. And so this is just a function of figuring out which back jack needs to have more pressure or less pressure on it to make the back, you know, the door frame a little bit more square. So what we're going to do is put more pressure. I have a feeling it's this back one that goes up faster. I was wrong. So what we're going to do is do the passenger side. There we go. And it'll just open like that when it's level. And I like to just check it. Yeah, closes pretty good. Just something to take a look at. And now we can put the slide out. So we're gonna hit the auxiliary motor feature on the remote, and we're gonna extend it. And another thing that I like to do is again, just the nature of these truck campers. You know, you want to do everything you can to make sure everything is even. You know, and there's always going to be some flexing, some contortion, something like that, just because you're dealing with these four different, you know, jacks. When it's on the truck, you have none of that. But when you're on these jacks, there's always a little bit of pressure being, you know, put on one of the corners versus the other ones. And one thing I like to do is look at the inside, you know, the seal here on the truck camper. If it's uneven, sometimes the top will be pushing a lot more on the top edge of the slide here, or the bottom will. And make sure that you actuate either the front or the back on that side to make it more even. In this situation, I pretty much nailed it as far as being even. So let's just go ahead and put it out. We don't have to do that. And again, we did all our work in the beginning and made sure that we had, you know, enough space between, you know, some of the obstructions for the slide to go out. So we are good to go. But other than that, that is pretty much it. Now I get to set up shop in the camper, get everything cleaned, organized, and ready for me to live in for a full week of tournament fishing. But that's it. Other than taking off the extension hitch, which I'm going to do after I get off the video here, I'm pretty much done. So very, very simple process. As you can see, it just takes a lot of care, awareness, and lack of distractions. Just make sure that you're not distracted. You don't have any kids, pets, spouses, friends, anybody, you know, hanging around the camper or talking to you or anything like that. Make sure that you are by yourself, focused, and you could have somebody that helps you spot or something like that. That's always nice, but just make sure you're focused on the task at hand. And it's a really super easy process. After doing it, you know, a half a dozen times, you're going to feel super comfortable doing it. And every single spot that you're going to put it is going to be very, very different. So make sure that you take care to get it as level as possible, no matter you know, the location. And if you go to a campground and the site is just way too unlevel, you know, try to get another site. It's really important for these truck campers to be level and to have as much of a level spot to begin with, because it can be really, really difficult, if not impossible and dangerous, to take your truck camper on and off on a very unlevel site, especially when it comes to actually really front and back and side to side unlevel is about equally as bad. But anyways, hopefully this is a helpful video. Again, I want to do more of these camping videos. And if you're just watching this because you're into camping, please consider checking out my fishing content. I would really like to bring, you know, a lot of you RVers and camping folks into my lifestyle of fishing the MLF Major League Fishing Pro Circuit. And I think it's a lot of fun. And if you want to get into fishing, I've got a lot of great how-to videos on that. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, drop a comment below if you have any questions. And I'm going to see you out on the water and out on the road.